Let me tell you why you're here.
I've seen things.
Oh my god.
Whoa, yeah! You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Guaranteed to jack you up.
Yo, what is going on, my dudes? It's your host, Lamar Staysbury, coming to you out of sight, out of mind once again. All right, man. I'm actually super excited about the movie we're going to be talking about today. Today's movie is Mandy. Now, I cannot stress this enough. This movie is an experience. If you haven't seen this, you should watch it. And I feel like I'm going to say that with every movie I cover. You could watch this movie a little bit tipsy. You could watch this movie high, which I really don't know if I should recommend because this movie is an acid trip. Like, it is mind-boggling. The visuals, it is such a beautiful, trippy movie. Like, it has to deal with some LSD, demon bikers, like, and like this cult leader, heavy metal inspired artwork, battle axes being used as an everyday weapon, as if that's super normal for somebody to go and hunt somebody down with. If all of that intrigues you, it's insane. Like, it's grainy, it's beautiful, it's gory, it's intimate, I hope you guys can feel my passion through your headsets. It is a beautifully done movie. It is wild, and I love it so much. And I'm not trying to hype it up too much, but man, this movie is an experience. It's 2 hours and it's great. It is a bit of a slow burn, I'm not gonna lie, but you know, it's building up and then it goes off the rails, and you're in for a hell of a ride, man. And I mean it when I say it is a hell of a fucking ride. You go in, it's dark, it's bright, it's colorful, it's everything you fucking needed to be, man. And that's exactly what it is for me. I love this so much. And at the forefront of it all, Nicolas fucking Cage. Nic fucking Cage, dude. And he does phenomenal in this movie. God, Nic Cage is just one of those people that's just all over the place with acting, and like, it's hard to describe, but my dude is a national treasure, okay, and no pun intended. Hell, not even that. He's an international treasure. I don't really know anybody that just hates Nicolas Cage or anything, but man, he is great in this movie. Of course, he turns it up a notch, but in a perfect way that works so well for this. But enough of me just like hyping up this movie. Let's get straight into the synopsis a little bit, like, you know, spoiler free. You know, I let you know what the movie's about, and obviously you guys kind of know my opinion so far. It's a revenge tale. Like at face value, it's definitely a revenge tale. It has some themes, and it has some pretty religious themes. Obviously, anytime there's a cult involved, you're gonna have those, because what better way to manipulate people than with drugs, religion, you know, mind-altering substances, which both clearly are. Those are my personal views. I think I've talked about this before. I'm not a very religious person, but you know, it's a weird subject. I'm not going to get super political on anything at all. But it is also about love. I feel like this movie teaches you about love, 2 different beliefs of love, and the male ego. It covers all of that. It does have those types of themes that are deep and are ingrained in our societal structures and our personal relationships as well, and professional. It's just everything. But it takes place in the 80s, 1980s. Well, no, I'm not going to say that. That might be spoilery. I'll save that for the end. But it takes place in the 80s. It's just these 2 middle-aged, I would say middle-aged, maybe a little less, people just trying to live their best life. They are people that have had hard lives. You can kind of tell, but they found peace in one another. They found love. We have Red, who is a veteran, you know, obviously troubled by his past. It's hinted at he does have some previous alcoholism, and he's a bit on the sober side. And then you have Mandy, who seems like she's definitely had quite the past herself. She has a scar on her face, and she constantly looks like, not like a victim, but she looks like somebody who is definitely cautious of the world around her. she finds beauty in everything when she's at home. But when you see her out and about, it does look like she's a bit more walking on eggshells. You know, she's not as wide-eyed. Like wide-eyed, but not wide-eyed, if you know what I mean. Unfortunately, she catches the attention of this cult leader who's a failed musician, which, of course, we all know who that's leaning towards. Charles Manson. We'll dive into that a little further later. But he sees her. They lock eyes one random day, and he wants her. So he decides to go out and get her. And, of course, it doesn't really work out that way, and it ends up in a murder. So, Red, obviously, like through passion of love, hate, and just pure spirit of vengeance just like running through his veins, you know, going back to his Ghost Rider roots, he's gonna go out and seek vengeance and hunt down these people who have wronged him and who have taken away his peace, his sobriety, his love. And it's a beautifully done movie, man. Everything looks amazing. Like, this movie is full of harsh lighting, and God, you guys fucking know I love me some harsh lighting, man. I like right now while recording this, I am bathed. I am soaking in just red light. I have my light above me colored red. I have my lights around me colored red. I am all in it, man. It's like I feel like I'm in hell's lobby right now, waiting to go in and get judged. Like, hey, so like you did this. This is exactly why you're here. So, you know, we're going to let you in. We're going to set you up with a little pamphlet to let you know all the activities that are around here, the amenities. But, you know, I digress, man. You know, I'm just going off tangent. But, yeah, so that's a bit of the synopsis of everything that's going on. So, let's get into some ratings. You know, you guys know I like to bring that up, and it's something a lot of people pay attention to. And it's going to sound pretentious, but it is a pretty artsy film. I would say this is probably elevated horror. You know, we've talked about that before. I'm pretty sure that is what you would categorize this as. I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive because it's rich in themes. It is very well done, even though the director said he has a problem with perfectionism in Hollywood today, where they try to make everything look perfect, and he likes the rough edges. You know, he likes things to kind of be, you know, imperfect, and it's okay. Like, you know, those imperfections can make a film look great, but honestly, it could just me being a fanboy. I don't see anything wrong with this. I feel like this movie is very well done. Everything looks beautiful. The acting's great. The story is great. The animation, practical effects everywhere. I think there's like very little CGI going on here, and I love that. This is a very grounded horror movie, horror revenge fantasy. They nailed it. They nailed exactly what they were going for. But we'll start with IMDb. IMDb has this at a 6.5. I would say, you know, that's okay. You know, like I said, this movie is not going to be for everybody, but that's still pretty damn decent. Rotten Tomatoes. Critic score is at a 90. I agree with the critics. Holy shit. I fucking agree with the critics, man. And audience score, we're at a 67, you know, so it's definitely, I guess it might be considered niche. I think everybody should watch it at least once, because you're going to watch it and think, what the fuck? Everyone is going to think that, no matter what. Man, it's just some of the concepts in here. Like the concept of this demon biker gang. Because, see, I don't even know if they're demons, but they definitely come across as it. They look like the Cenobites from Hellraiser. They look very reminiscent of the Cenobites. And they are called the Black Skulls. I got a list of the names right here, but the Black Skulls are as listed. We have Scratch. It's this one covered in all these like giant nails, like he has Pinhead beat like tenfold. Okay, it is redonkulous. And then we have Scabs, who's the leader. He's kind of a taller, scrawny one, and he's the one that talks to the ones that summon them. And then we have and this is a very fitting name, Fuck Pig. This one's kind of a heftier dude. The movie can be dark at times, And with the lighting, you're working with a lot of these shadows. They love to show off the silhouettes, because the silhouettes of these creatures is what really makes them creepy as well. I love it's a lot of keeping you guessing. They're still mysterious, because in this world, we don't really know, okay, are they really demonic beings? We don't really know. But yeah, so we have Fuck Pig, who he has a weaponized penis. Yeah, he has a very sharp penis that we definitely see he's used on people before. And then we have Sis, because they may be like sadomasochists and all that other stuff. They might be into all that, but man, they are indeed inclusive. And she's a black skull that has this kind of melted on her face white mask. At least it really appears that way. Now, I kind of want to get into their backstory, because they're my favorite part about this movie, just because of how they look, and it's super creepy. They're kind of captivating, and they're not on screen very long, but they definitely catch your attention, and they will stay in your head, okay? And I like that. That's a good creature. They look awesome, man. Like they roll up, they're completely shadowed. It's kind of like I know it's because of their bikes, or at least their vehicles. They have this red light, but this ambiance that follows them, remarkable. Just them in like red and their silhouettes. It looks beautiful. It's disgusting. It's creepy. I love it, dude. It's so fucking sick. But yeah, you know, we got them on their bikes. There's 3 of them on bikes, and then there's Sis, who looks like she's the one on a 4-wheeler. Well, hey, nothing wrong with that. I grew up on some 4-wheelers, man. You know, you got the manual, and then you got the automatic. Like, yo, I kind of want to know which one she's rocking right there. But they all look sick. But their backstory is they used to work for this drug maker. He made LSD, the chemist, who we do meet in the movie. For whatever reason, I can't fully remember exactly, and I don't see it right here, but he kind of just decided to take revenge on them. They were wronging him in some way, and he just didn't like it anymore. So he made them a special batch of LSD, and ever since they took that, they've never been the same. You know, it's just like a theory, like, oh, you know, they became ingrained with power, and they started like tormenting highways and responsible for all these disappearances, these murders, leaving dead bodies on porches, you know, kidnapping, killing prostitutes, all this like nasty stuff, and that they have this reputation for that area that they're in. So it's pretty fucking brutal and very interesting, honestly. A really good group of villains right there. And we can't talk about villains without talking about Jeremiah Sand. And I guess let me go ahead and say we're going to be in the spoilery section. We're kind of done talking about the synopsis and giving you the breakdown and all that. Man, Jeremiah Sand. Now, there is a character, there's definitely some layers to, and he symbolizes quite a bit. Now, like I was saying earlier, he's very reminiscent of Charles Manson, except this dude's clean shaven. But he is also a failed musician. After he sees and kidnaps Mandy, he tries to assimilate her into the group, you know, bring her into the fold, and decides to like trip her out on drugs and show her his music. And she doesn't like it like one bit. Like, she fucking laughs at it, you know. And honestly, from what I can remember, it did not sound good, but it was about him. It was literally just about him. I can't remember the lyrics, but man, when you hear it, you're gonna know. I believe he says his own fucking name in the song. So yeah, that gives you quite the idea of what the hell this dude is about. He goes after Mandy because he is the embodiment of ego. He is all over the place. You know, one minute he's just like, you know, I am Jesus incarnate, you know, I am God to these people. And one moment he could be super insecure and vulnerable, and then he has to like snap himself back into it, like, no, don't ever doubt yourself. Like, he looks at himself in the mirror to give himself a pep talk. And I mean, I'm all for, like, you know, self-love and helping yourself out, you know, of a situation. But this dude, the way he talks to himself is as if it's like a confession. you know, like in a confessional, talking to a priest, he talks about his doubts, like kind of skittish and looking around and like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm lost. I'm freaking out. I'm losing control. And then out of nowhere, it just stops. And it switches. And he's just like, no, I'm Jeremiah Sand. I know who I am. I am this. I am godlike. I have no reason to feel this. I shouldn't be feeling this. And then it's just like, oh God, this dude is like, ugh. But because he sees her and he wants her, he demands one of his followers to go and take her. And that's eventually when we go get the Black Skulls. They get summoned by one of his followers because they want help. And whenever Mandy is finally taken and he tries to bring her in, you know, giving her the drug, showing her the music, showing her his other followers and how devoted they are to him, that's when he's trying to be like, you know, you could belong here. And he wants her bad. And he even says like he needs her, that he feels naked without her. So because of this obsession, makes it seem like everything revolves around him. And he demands it to like the highest caliber. But he is also a fragile man, because whenever they're in that room and he's showing the music and everything, he disrobes himself. He drops full dong, man. Okay, we got some male dong in here, and it's just that's kind of when she starts laughing. And then for some reason, I don't know why, I'm not gonna lie, I don't get what was going through his head. But whenever she's laughing and he's telling her like, no, stop it, all of a sudden he just starts like whacking off, and she just laughs more. And then he starts breaking because it's not convincing her. So he starts looking around and he's getting angry at everyone, telling them, don't look at me, like don't fucking look at me, and all this stuff. So he is getting made to look really weak. And at that moment, he decides that he's going to go punish Red. And they have Red trapped up outside, you know, tied up like in barbed wire. And Jeremiah is telling Red, you think you know what love is. Like, you guys think you have love, you know, because she's devoted to you in that way that she won't join me. Obviously, you guys have like strong feelings for one another. He doubts that. He misconstrues what love is. And this is something a lot of people definitely experience at one point. They get confused on what love is, and some people take advantage of love the same way that this guy is doing. You know, he thinks love is obedience. And so he's like, you think you have love? I'll show you what love is. So he brings out one of his followers, and he sits her down in front of Red and hands her a gun. Play Russian roulette. And she does look terrified, but she looks powerless and scared, but then also into it. Like, it's a bit 50-50. This girl does a really good job of conveying those things. And so she fires the gun, nothing. And Jeremiah is just like, that's love. You guys don't have love. And that's what's so fucked. You see that because they very much love each other. They are each other's peace, calm. They are a home to each other. And Jeremiah sees that, and he can't get that. So he gets this blade, this very ceremonial, kind of demonic blade, and then he stabs Red in the side. I think just like how Jesus was while being crucified, if I remember from Catholic school and looking at some of the paintings and stuff. So he stabs him in the side, and he calls him a soulless pig. Another thing Charles Manson did, that they called like victims pigs. And I didn't get to touch on it too much, but yeah, so there's a lot of similarities with Charles Manson. You know, the drugs, you know, the young people, which are not all of them young. 2 of them were like pretty fucking old. But like, you know, he did have some young, impressionable people. I would say that was the majority of the group. I think it was like maybe 3 out of the 5. And he even sacrifices one to the Black Skulls because they wanted payment for their services. So you want them to find these people? Cool. They want blood. You know, I don't know if they're going to eat the kid or whatever, but unfortunately they kind of had this bit of a husky, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white kid. I don't know. I don't want to say he deserved it, but it's like, bro, what are you doing hanging out with these people? You know, and obviously one of these things is not like the other, and you were the thing. And so they got rid of him and sacrificed him to a bunch of demonic bikers. But now with the Charles Manson thing, it's like, that's something that gets me, man. I kind of like when movies do that. I know it's probably overdone by now, but the Manson murders and that whole time period, that's probably one of my favorite dark moments in American history, because it is mind-boggling how this dude got away with so much. And I'm not trying to be one of those people that says he's like a genius or something. I don't think he was. I just think he was an opportunist, and he was clever. I will say that, but I can't say the dude's a genius, and I can't give him all this credit. He did ruin people's lives and, you know, forever scare the hell out of the public. So now everyone is terrified of more people like that, rightfully so. And the actor Linus Roach, who played Jeremiah, he does an incredible job of trying to capture all of that. He captures everything so well about being just one of those stereotypical white men who develop a following and abuse their power and who feel godlike. And I'm not trying to just categorize it to only white people, but you know, it is very prominent that that's a thing. You know, it's strange and it happens. And it's shocking, the performance coming out of this whole thing. Linus, I remember him as being Thomas Wayne in Christopher Nolan's Batman. So that was he was the one that was hugging baby Christian Bale, or not baby, but like child Christian Bale. I don't know. I think that's kind of cool and like super random, because Jeremiah was rejected by Mandy, somebody who really wanted, and I guess he kind of doesn't like somebody had that power over him as well, that made him need someone, as said so by himself. So he decides that stereotypical thing most people say, you know, in a really toxic relationship, if I can't have you, nobody will. So he goes by the rules of that, and he puts her in a sleeping bag and strings her up. They light it on fire and they burn her in front of Red. And Red is just like mourning, like silently, while all this is going on. And you could see the bag kind of moving around, because clearly she's still conscious while all of this is happening. So she was burned alive. Once everything dials down, because of all the blood, you know, on his wrists from the barbed wire, he's able to kind of like slip out after they've left. And he goes to caress her body, and there's nothing but her ashes, like some of her skull, like her head. And he tries to like caress it, and he gets a little bit of time, like just a few seconds to do that before it like caves in and just turns completely to dust. And so now he goes in his house, he breaks his sobriety, you know, he breaks down, he goes inside, he finds a bottle that he was hiding. It was under the sink, the bathroom sink. So Mandy might have hidden it, he might have hidden it, but it was a full bottle, and he just starts going in on that thing. And then he just starts breaking down, and just Nic Cage doing his fucking Nic Cage screams, man, in his underwear, wearing a tiger shirt. And it's great. So he's trying to let all of those feelings out, which I feel like some of those were probably real during this movie, because his marriage was actually ending, I think, right before this movie was about to start filming. I think he himself said that he had all those feelings because it ended out of nowhere, and he needed somewhere to put all that. So I think this movie was probably kind of therapeutic for him, like, you know, the dying of a relationship. Once he kind of gets himself together, this is where he goes out, and I guess he visits an old friend, somebody he used to serve with. And it's actually Mac from Predator, Bill Duke. Bill Duke, who played Mac in Predator, he's here. And I guess he's been holding on to a weapon of Red's, pretty much him leaving that past behind him, because Mac lives out in the trailer, kind of like in the middle of nowhere. He goes to him and he's like, I'm here for the Reaper. So he comes and he gets his crossbow, and he says he left it just the way he had it. You know, he has some bows, he has that. This is where Bill Duke's character, you know, gives the backstory of the Black Skulls. That's where we get all that exposition. And then one of the most badass things I swear I've ever seen in a movie is this weapon that Nicolas Cage forges for himself. It is called the Beast. It is probably the best sword I've ever seen in any movie ever. It looks amazing. It's so badass. It's like metallic. It's like silver. It's able to reflect, like the environment around it. Like it looks, oh, dude, it looks so badass. Like you would have to be worried. This is a Florida man thing. Like if you saw this, I could see this being a weapon in Florida. And I get to say that as a local Florida man. But after armoring up, this is when he sets out to go take his revenge. And the first people he takes out are the Black Skulls. He tries to go for them. So when he gets the chance, the first one I believe he kills is Scratch, the one that's covered in all the nails. He shoots him down while he's riding, and he takes his car and like tries to run him over and flips his own car because it's just a giant fucking like speed bump spike trap that he just ran into. And I forgot to mention, after her passing, he starts to have these dreams of her in this very, very awesome 80s heavy metal inspired art. Like when I mean heavy metal like inspired art, I'm talking like the main one that comes to my mind is Iron Maiden and like their character Eddie on the front of all their albums. It looks awesome, dude. They animated these very well. It looks so badass. But after he just killed Scratch with his car, he has another one of those dreams, and then he wakes up in their lair, or at least like a house that they like took over. That's where he sees Sis. Sis is the one that has him trapped up, and he's trying to loosen up a pipe while he's there. And when they get knocked down like this giant shaft, and so he gets loose, and then he goes about the house trying to look for his stuff, and that's where he comes across Fuckpig, who is just openly watching porn on his TV, and it's pretty gnarly, and he's just doing a mountain of cocaine. And you see, it is revealed he has this giant spike just protruding from his body, and he's wearing this like weapon that he definitely uses to kill people, because there was one guy that was definitely sodomized to death, and there was another woman on the bed who is definitely fucked to death as well. And so he tries to use that to stab Red, but he goes through the floor instead. And then Red is able to just slit his throat with a box cutter. And at that moment, you got Sis, who comes back and has a shotgun. They tussle a bit, snaps her neck. Now he has 3 down out of the 4. And while he's in their house, he sees a jar that they had of drugs. And my first thought wouldn't have been to like, oh yeah, I'm gonna drink this now, because it looks gross. It looks like gray goo. And he takes just the smallest like fingertip of it and like licks it, like just a little taste test, and completely trips balls. And the thing is, that was given to the Black Skulls earlier as payment as well to go find Mandy. The leader, who I'm assuming is going to be Scabs, I'm pretty sure that's the leader, just starts drinking it, like guzzling it down like nothing. So these people, their minds are gone. So they're probably fully demonic. Like, I don't know. After that, he sees that Scabs is on the outside just burning a car. A very nice shot, by the way. And he shoots him with the Reaper. The Reaper goes through his neck. Nothing. Doesn't do anything. No, the dude is not phased. He just pulls it out and like gushing blood a little bit, but doesn't flinch or anything. So they go out. So he goes out there and they just start fighting. And it is a pretty nice tussle. I'm not gonna lie. He's using the battle axe. Scabs just has like this knife, like this little knife that he's kind of using. You know, they're fending off each other. And Red is able to set Scabs on fire. And in one of the most badass like finisher ways, he just chops off his head. Okay, and while his head is still burning, he takes a cigarette and just lights it and just does a puff and just walks away and still tripping balls, mind you. Dude, that's one of the most badass and heavy metal things ever. This movie is super duper heavy fucking metal, man. Like, oh, like metal horns all the way, man. You guys can't see me right now, but I got them up right now, okay? Because literally, the beginning of this movie, it starts off with this text, and it says, "When I die, bury me deep, lay 2 speakers at my feet, wrap some headphones around my head, and rock and roll me when I'm dead." Bars, dude. Like, oh god, that's some good shit right there, man. Turns out I Googled, like, I was like, dude, this is actually cool. Like where is this from? It's definitely the final words of this murderer. This guy was executed in 2005 through lethal injection. His name was Douglas Allen Roberts. This happened in Texas. That was his last words. Ah, dude, that's wild. So that's some heavy metal shit, man. Like, I know a lot of people say, you know, there's this stigma against heavy metal and like death metal, all this stuff, you know, like, oh, it's creepy. It's like all this other stuff. Honestly, some old school heavy metal has a lot to do with fantasy, and that's kind of all it is. It's literally just like a bunch of nerds sometimes, man. Like really, like dragons and like orcs and shit like that. Like it's pretty fucking nerdy when you think about it. It's a lot of D&D inspired shit going on there, but you know, a lot of people don't know that. They just take it face value. But there are indeed some things where it's super deep. Like I know there was this one band who the lead singer, I believe, killed himself, and they used it as the album cover. And I thought The Idol had weird shit going on, man. I really thought so. If you've seen that show, you know what I'm talking about when it comes to album covers. That's I think that's a whole step up right there. That is on a different caliber it could never reach. Okay, not at all. So heavy metal can be very dark and all that demonic stuff that some people say. Like, I guess you could say that, but yeah, not all the time. Okay, sometimes it's kind of just pretty nerdy, and that's okay. So that doesn't mean hate your local heavy metal dude. A lot of times the people are super nice, you know. Unfortunately, it's the artists that you kind of have to worry about sometimes. A lot of times people just have a lot of mental health and all this other stuff going on. You never really know. So it's always good to read between the lines. And, you know, unfortunately, that's how that turned out. And that's really sad. And this is probably where it does get like really wild, because after Red, you know, takes some of that LSD, he also did like a big bump of coke. He goes and tracks down the chemist and tries to get more information about where Jeremiah and Aldem stay. And the whole time, nothing is said by Red. There's this weird, like, psychic link, I guess, that they have. Whenever he walks in and he just stares at the chemist is fully aware of his presence when he comes in. And he's definitely tripping because he's working with LSD with no gloves, guys. And LSD can go into your skin, okay? So this dude is just probably high 24/7. He even licks his finger at one point. So this dude is tripping, but it's something he's used to. That's his job, you know? And the guy that plays him is Richard Brake. And I know him, and recently he was Frank, rapey dude in Barbarian. He was Valen Hess in The Mandalorian. He was acting opposite of Pedro Pascal and Bill Burr in that one episode. That was, oh, dude, that was such a great scene, man. If you guys know what I'm talking about, God, I appreciate you. He played Portman in Doom, in the Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Carl Urban Doom back in the early 2000s, I think it was, which I kind of like it. I know a lot of people don't, but I didn't grow up playing the game, so I thought it was kind of cool. And he's in a number of Rob Zombie movies as well. But he's one of those side characters. If he's featured in something, I really fucking like it. He plays his parts very well. He's nice to see on a casting list for me. Once they have their little one-way conversation, that's when Red figures out exactly where he needs to go, and he goes and finds this temple. And another beautiful shot, dude. Dude, this movie has so many beautiful shots. It's great. He goes and finds this temple. It sets a booby trap to capture Brother Swan. Brother Swan is the guy that I guess he's the most devoted follower. You know, I think he's like second in command to Jeremiah, and he was the one that sought out the Black Skulls and, you know, gave them the sacrifice and gave them the job. And when Red finally gets a hold of him, he uses the beast and just stabs him right in the mouth, man. And he sees that same girl that did the Russian roulette in front of him, and she still looks scared, just kind of out of it, and, you know, crying, and he just lets her go. Because she didn't do anything wrong. You know, she was there, but she really didn't do anything. You know, he's making his way to the compound, and that's where he comes across this one mullet-wearing dude called Brother Hanker. And he's honestly a funny-looking dude. It's mainly the mullet. The mullet is what's tripping me out right now. Pretty quick and easy kill. He just takes the beast and throws it, and it just comes from a distance and just stabs the dude, like silhouette style, and like blood gushing, like right in his head. Like it's pretty cool. But then this movie just gets even more awesome and heavy fucking metal. There is a goddamn chainsaw fight in here, dude. Not like your typical like Texas Chainsaw Massacre shit. No. He goes where there's all this lumber, like timber, whatever you want to call it, and he sees the brother of the guy that he just killed, and he grabs a chainsaw and is like, you know what, I'm going to use this. And then another visual representation, you know, the male ego comes out, because this dude whips out a chainsaw. I swear it is taller than me. It is probably 2 of me. I am 5'6", and this chainsaw is ridiculously long. It is so over the top, and this is where we get into the area of theories saying that Red is an unreliable narrator because, you know, he took those drugs and now everything's wild, you know. So him seeing this is probably not real, but I mean, who knows? It's all over the place. But I'm not here to get into that because that's just a whole lot. This badass chainsaw fight goes on for a little bit, and lo and behold, the size does not matter. Okay, it's all about what you do with it. Red comes out on top by channeling his inner Ghost Rider again. He gets this chain, he just swings it around, wraps it around the guy's neck, and then he drops him down onto the chainsaw and just completely messes up his insides, man. He got all up in them guts, and Nic Cage knows how to do it. Honestly, I think there's like, it could just be me being reading into it, but I think there's a lot of little symbolism to the whole Ghost Rider stuff, you know, because when he's traveling around, he has this red behind him, but he has orange in front of him. He just looks like flame, like the embodiment of fire anytime he's lit and traveling. And I love that. And then the whole chain thing just reminds me of it. I don't know if too many people know this, but Nicolas Cage is actually a pretty big comic nerd. His real name is not even Nicolas Cage. His actual name is Nicholas Kim Coppola. His family definitely has quite the name, but because he wanted to get into acting, he didn't want to be like a nepotism baby or anything like that. So he changed his name to Nicolas Cage because I believe his favorite character at the time was Luke Cage, which a lot more people got familiar with because of the Netflix show. And he was set to play Superman back in the 90s, Tim Burton's Superman that was supposed to be written by Kevin Smith. And then he played fucking Ghost Rider, dude. Like that's so sick. He's a comic nerd, you know. He played in Kick-Ass as well, and even earlier in this film he name drops Galactus because him and Mandy are sitting and talking about planets, and she asks him what's his favorite planet. He says Galactus. And the first time watching this I was like, like, wait, is there like some superstar or something in the solar system I didn't know that's called Galactus? And she said, oh, that's not a planet. And he goes, well, he eats planets. And I'm like, yeah, oh my dude. I fucking love Galactus. So that was like a cherry on top for me. I was like, oh yeah, Nicolas Cage just name dropping Galactus out of nowhere, man. That's awesome. All right, and going back to what we were talking about. So after he kills another one of the brothers, you know, he's headed to the temple. And this is where he runs into the older chick who is probably like third in command. And she tries to seduce Red, but he's not having any of it. He is not interested whatsoever in what she's offering, okay? So it cuts to this chamber where Jeremiah is just chilling in, like this red light in this stone chamber. And it's just like radiating, like pulsing. And he just gets her head thrown at him. Yeah, Red just full on decapitated that woman. It's really funny. He kind of like squirms like, oh my God. And it's just like not what you would expect for him to react. And it's really funny. He's kind of flamboyant. And then Jeremiah just goes straight up into this whole like, oh, you can't hurt me in here. I'm protected by God and all this other stuff. Like, you can't come close to me. And then Red's just walking, just staring menacingly at him, just in a daze, approaching him. And then like grabs his face. And then this is when Jeremiah breaks again. And he's like, no, 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 like, you know, you can't do this. Like, don't kill me, blah, 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 blah. And like, you know, dude, I'll suck your dick, man. Like, don't kill me. And then all of a sudden he's like, no, like, you can't do this to me. Like, I'm a god and all this. Like, you will fall before me. All this other shit. He just goes on in this way. And then Red's just not saying anything and he's just squishing like as hard as he can, just squishing his head with all of his strength. And then his head just pops. You know, it just opens up like a watermelon. And after that, Red just, you know, he got his revenge. He walks away and he's able to drive off. The temple's burning down. While he's driving away, he's covered in blood. We get this vision of him just looking to the side and seeing Mandy. And he just has this creepy ass smile on his face and this really nice shot in the car. And I like this because it just says, you know, he got his revenge, but it didn't do anything. It didn't bring her back. He doesn't even look better or relieved. He still looks broken, lost, miserable, loveless. And I kind of like that it shows that. It's a bit bleak, but I mean, I think it's nice because everyone knows the whole, you know, revenge won't do anything, blah, 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 blah. And like the little cop out where like, no, I'm going to stop the cycle of revenge. I'm not going to kill you. I'm looking at you, Last of Us 2. And yeah, like whenever they talk about that, I like this, how they just showed it, you know, like he's not happy or anything. And so he just drives off back into the wilderness and we don't know what's going to come of that. We don't know what life he's going to have or if he's ever going to be happy ever again. But then it gets kind of weird because then you see the sky and there's like 3 planets. So I don't even know if this takes place in another planet or what, but I know this takes place like in the 80s. I think it was 1983, if I remember correctly. I don't know if it's still the drugs or the unreliable narrator. So it's all over the place. But dude, this movie is heavy metal. This is just like a vengeful rock opera. That's how I see it in my head. And I think it is a ride everyone should try at least once. And it's beautiful. Like, God, dude, it looks so good. You could probably watch this high. I wouldn't recommend it. But, you know, if you're trying to have an experience, I mean, who am I going to, you know, who am I to say, hey, don't do something? But it's just, this movie can get pretty wild. So I don't really know. Man, if you did, it would look beautiful. Because I think they use color quite a bit to exaggerate or to invoke these feelings. And that's exactly what lighting and, you know, the science of color. And I believe they do that because you have a lot of red in this movie. You know, you got danger, you got love, you got the bikers being bathed in it. You got Jeremiah being bathed in it because they're dangerous, and you got Red covered in it. Sometimes Mandy in it because, you know, she's the embodiment of love and those colors mean that. And then you got these deep blues where I feel like the only time we really saw it for like peace was whenever they were sleeping in bed together. But then that was disrupted whenever the black skulls came into their home and it started to flicker, you know, strobe lights. And Mandy, before she was even awake, she was having like these gut feelings. You know, it seemed like she was kind of having a nightmare, or she felt like a disturbance of the force or something. And that strobe effect, you know, we see that a few times. We see it when Red levels up in a way. You know, he gets some of the biker armor. And then we also see it on the dagger that he's stabbed with. That's very mystical looking. So the strobe light is definitely invoking some stuff, and the color choices as well. And then you got, you know, your purple, your pink for like these tranced effects. We got these cosmic. I feel like we only see the cosmic in the bedroom. Yeah, it seems like they're in love. They're in sync. Like they are each other's world. They are each other's solar system. They are everything to each other. And we see that in their bedroom. And you got green, you got the mythical aspect, that dagger that he was stabbed with in the side. And then we had white. We have a whole scene of white. Probably the most well-lit part in this movie was white when he was in the acid room. A bit of peace because there was no conflict between them. He had no quarrel with the chemist. He only had questions. And even the chemist didn't choose violence with him because he felt he was no threat to him. So there was like a bit of peace there in all of that. Yeah, I feel like they definitely used a lot of color in this, and I love it so much. They do a very beautiful job. And Mandy has such beautiful cinematography, man. Some of my favorite shots, I gotta talk about these. We got the first appearance of the temple where Red is up on the hill. Oh, dude, that's such an amazing shot. I don't know how they did that. I don't know if it was practical, but that was awesome. You got the burning of the temple whenever he's going away from it. And then like the inside, the interior looks really nice. They did a really good job with that temple. That temple was just great. Another favorite is the biker gang just bathed in all that red, all that harsh, beautiful lighting just in the woods whenever they first show up. That is awesome. You got Mandy reading her book in bed. It's a beautiful spot. Those windows, oh, dude, that is awesome. I don't know what type of windows and like bedroom to really call that. I don't think I can handle it because I need pitch black for me to go to sleep. It's like a very nice hippie nature, meditation spot. Then you got like Scabs standing by the car like while it's on fire and he's just waiting for Red to approach him. It's beautiful, man. And the trippiest shot, in my opinion, is when Jeremiah is trying to assimilate Mandy, and that's done both visually and it's done audibly, because he's trying to get her into it, and their faces are like masked over each other in this shot, and it bleeds in and out of one of them taking precedent over the other, and it's almost done seamlessly. Like, dude, first time watching this, it was tripping me out, dude. God, please go watch this movie. It is gnarly. But man, that's everything I really have to say. We kind of went through it. I think I covered everything I really want to talk about, but man, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this. I hope I sound better. I'm doing a bit of a different thing with my mic. It's right up against my lips, and I think you guys would really like to hear it and know that. Just know that you're in kissing distance. Mwah. But yeah, man, I gotta give you guys a fortune cookie, okay? You guys know this. And here we go. It's good to be prepared, but stay open to surprises. Do with that what you will, ladies and gentlemen. But until next time, be excellent, be kind, subscribe to the podcast.